turned up. Let's go.
What is up, you guys? I'm charmx. Today I'm going to be reacting to what is the loudest sound ever heard by Real Life Lore. Now, I really like Real Life Lore's videos, so hopefully this will be quite awesome. But with that being said, the original link's in the description. Without any further ado, let's begin. Also, as far as what I think the loudest sound ever heard is, it would probably be this. What am I supposed to say? So yeah, anyway, let's begin.
Think for a moment about how loud the loudest sound that you've ever heard in your life was. If you're hearing my voice right now after experiencing an incident like that, then
it obviously didn't do that much damage to your ears, right? But yeah, I don't know what the loudest sound I've ever heard is. I mean, I just made the joke of it's me yelling, but I don't know what the loudest sound. Like, I've heard cannons go off. Those things are freaking loud. It would probably have to be cannons or like a hunting rifle or something like that, because I've heard those go off. They're freaking loud too. It has to be something like that.
Then it was nowhere near the loudest sound that has ever happened. But before I can explain what the loudest sound was and how incredible it is, I first need to explain how sound is measured in terms of loudness in the first place. This image here is a sound wave. All you need to know about really is the amplitude of the wave, because it's the amplitude that determines how loud a sound appears to be to humans. The decibel scale is what's used to measure the loudness of a sound, and it's important to note that the scale is logarithmic.
Yeah, see, this is interesting to me. Even though, like, I work with audio in, you know, the making music program that I use, or whether it's just recording, you know, here or whatnot, I work with audio every day. But as far as how it actually works, I don't know.
This means that 10 decibels is 10 times more powerful than 0 decibels, and 20 decibels is 10 times more powerful than 10 decibels, but 100 times more powerful than 0 decibels.
What? Oh, that's weird. That's not what I would expect it to be.
With all of that in mind, let's start building our way up to the loudest sound in history by beginning at 10 decibels, which is about how loud standard human breathing is and is barely audible to the average human. 10 times more powerful than this at 20 decibels is the rustling of leaves in the wind, and then
oh wow, so that's really quiet.
10 times more powerful than that at 30 decibels is a whisper. We're still in pretty quiet territory, so moving higher up to 44 decibels is the average ambient noise that's present in a library. A little bit higher than that, at 50 decibels, is the noise of a normal conversation in your home, and 10 times more powerful than
well, I mean, it all depends what normal is to you, right? If you live with a family who likes to yell a lot and be very emotional, it could be a lot higher.
that, at 60 decibels, is the noise of a normal conversation in a restaurant. 70 decibels is about the noise that a vacuum cleaner produces, and it's a good comparison for all the noises that are coming up next.
Okay.
Twice as loud as that, at 80 decibels, is the noise created by a garbage disposal. And
wasn't that like a shower? Did not look like a garbage disposal.
4 times as loud as a vacuum cleaner at 90 decibels is the noise that you would hear from a motorcycle engine if you were 7.5 meters away from it. 100 decibels would be 8 times louder than a vacuum cleaner and is roughly the noise produced by operating a jackhammer. Twice as loud as that, though, at 110 decibels is the average threshold that humans begin to experience pain at. And 100...
Oh, okay. Oh, so right there's this next one's a concert. Right after saying that 100 decibels is where people start experiencing pain, then you go right up to a concert.
8 to 114 decibels is the average noise produced at a rock concert.
Yeah, so when people say that you go to a concert and you damage your hearing, it's not lying.
Friends over at Airplane Mode created a video about the value of music produced at concerts like this, so make sure to check out their video next in the description. A chainsaw produces a noise of 120 decibels, which is 32 times louder than the vacuum cleaner is. A shotgun firing right next to you is about 130 decibels, and about the loudest noise that you'll probably ever like.
Oh! Okay, that's right. A few months ago, I went with a friend to an airport because the airport had some like crazy jets that were there for an air show that was going on. So the jets would be at the airport, they would take off, then they'd go over to the air show. So my friend and I went to the airport so we could see them take off because that is as closest as you can get to them. When you're at an airport, they're starting from the ground and they're going upwards, right? This was legit, I think, the loudest thing I've ever heard. Like, louder than a cannon. So there was like the runway, and we were right, like if I'm standing right here, the runway was like right here. So when the airplane came, it went right over our heads. And when that happened, like, it wasn't that high off the ground. It wasn't that high at all. It was maybe like 20 to 30 feet off the ground or something. It was really low. It was really friggin' low. And it was so loud. It was the loudest thing I've ever heard. And I swore I got like some kind of hearing damage after that. That was insane. But anyway, yeah, just seeing this airplane reminded me of that. So that's the loudest sound I've ever heard. It is, oh my goodness.
Here in your life is a passenger jet taking off if you were standing 25 meters away from it, which would...
So basically that's what I heard, but it wasn't a passenger jet, it was a fighter. So would a fighter be louder?
Be around 150 decibels. This is also the level of sound that can immediately rupture your eardrums instantly if you're ever exposed to it. But the...
So I guess the fighter jet's a little bit less loud? Or maybe I've just damaged my hearing that much. I don't know.
The loudest sound ever heard by humans that we've been building up to this entire time was unbelievably more loud than this. In the spring of 1883, the volcanic island of Krakatoa in modern-day Indonesia...
Oh, volcano.
...with a force of 200 megatons. A force so powerful it obliterated the entire island. Any sound over 194 decibels begins to distort into more of a shock wave from an explosion rather than an actual sound wave. But the Krakatoa eruption generated an estimated 310 decibels at the epicenter of the explosion.
Oh snap! Oh snap! Anyone around affected by that would not have hearing after that.
This force was so loud that sailors located 64 kilometers away from the blast had their eardrums ruptured.
Oh!
The noise was even louder though than this may seem at first, because a pressure gauge located 161 kilometers away measured a sound of 180 decibels.
A pressure gauge? What's that? This was in like 1880 something. Did they have this kind of technology way back then?
It would have taken the sound about 7 minutes and 53 seconds to reach that far from the volcano, and it still would have been enough to not only rupture your eardrums if you were standing there, but also knock the wind out of your lungs and shatter glass windows on buildings. It's possible you could have actually died from the sound waves impacting and smashing through your body.
And that's 100 miles away. Could you imagine anyone within that range just minding their own business on an island or whatever, just all of a sudden hit by that? Oh my.
But even if you didn't, you would be guaranteed to be permanently deaf for life afterwards.
Oh.
In real life, the volcanic blast was heard as far away as Perth, Australia, whose residents reported hearing what sounded like gunshots. It was also heard on the Indian Ocean island of Rodriguez, 4,800 kilometers away, whose residents reported what they believed to be cannon fire. Imagine if this time you were standing in Central Park and you heard what sounded like a cannon firing somewhere around you, only to find out later that the sound...
It was halfway across the world.
Didn't come from near you at all, but rather came all the way from Ireland. And it took a time of nearly 4 hours to reach your ears.
Wow!
The sound wave began to
4 hours!
Grow less and less audible to humans the farther it traveled until the frequency became too low to be heard. Even though the waves couldn't be heard by humans themselves past a certain range, our instruments detected that the waves generated from the...
Wait, what do you mean our instruments? This was in like 1880 or something like that? What instruments did they have back then to detect this kind of stuff? That's over 100 years ago. Technology-wise, things weren't as, you know, advanced as they are now. So what kind of instruments do they have to measure stuff like that? I don't know.
The blast circled around the entire planet 3.5 times. So the next time you turn on your speakers with the volume a little too high, at least it won't be loud enough to cause a global catastrophe.
Man, hearing that the passenger jet can cause, like, you'd go permanently deaf. I'm very glad that I managed to not go completely deaf or anything like that from the jet going over our heads, because it was only like 20 to 30 feet up, something like that. It was not high at all. Oh, it was so unbelievably loud. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, possibly share with a friend. If you did, subscribe and join the family. Also, make sure you guys go subscribe to Real Life Lore, that link's in the description. I'll see you guys next time. Boop!